Okay. Yo, shit, what's up, dude? How's it going?
Hey, what's up?
What do you
It's
mean,
going
hey?
all right.
It's going all right. What, did you just wake up? Were you laying down? What's going on?
No, I was in the middle of a stretch.
Oh, are you doing yoga?
No,
Oh, you're just
I was just
stretching. Oh,
stretching
you're just stretching.
from a. It was a yawn.
Oh, I see. Yeah, well, I actually need to be doing yoga because I'm having a lot of like muscle aches and shit, and I keep telling myself I'm gonna take time to do yoga in the morning, and I never do it. But I should really start. But yeah, dude, what's up? We haven't talked in a good while. It feels. What's going on? What's new?
Yeah. Um, I've gotten back like about 3 weeks ago. I went on a trip with friends
Uh huh.
to Disneyland and Universal Studios.
Huh. Holy shit. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, it was a lot of fun. Very different those parks during
COVID.
COVID. Yeah,
Really? Why is it just not as packed? Is there like less people, or just the restrictions in general?
yeah, yeah. Like for Disneyland, you had to reserve like a spot in the park like months in advance, which is what we did. Like we bought like the tickets and everything in like January.
Oh my fucking god.
Yeah,
Is
and
Disneyland really that worth it? What the fuck?
well, we had been planning the trip like before COVID even hit.
Right.
So, and we were originally going to be going to Florida for Disney World,
Oh, I see.
but yeah, we didn't want to get a plane canceled because of COVID and all that. So we just said, "Fuck it, we'll go to Disneyland."
Right. That makes sense.
Hmm.
Yeah, no, Florida's fucking nuts, dude. I mean, it's kind of crazy that what is it? Disney World is even in Florida. Like, why Florida of all places? Like, you would imagine that California would be the area to do it, since that's where all the revenue comes in from. Just people come generally living in Hollywood and tourists and shit, and In-N-Out Burger. But that's weird. I still never understood why Disney World was in Florida, especially with all the alligators and shit that live there. Um, are you still working on your music on your music school and shit? Are you still working on that?
Yeah, this upcoming semester is going to be the first semester of my fifth year.
Oh shit.
And I
Wait, you
should,
said fifth year?
yeah, fifth.
Fifth?
Fifth
Like, wait, this is like your fifth year in college, university,
y-
whatever the fuck?
in college, yes.
Oh my god, wait, it's been that long already?
Yes.
What? Dude, we're getting old. What the fuck happened? Where did the time go? Okay, go on, sorry.
Oh yeah, no, I was just gonna say it should be my last year if everything goes all right,
Oh,
and
okay.
I pass these classes. It's mostly GEs, which
Oh,
are
okay.
like yeah, general education classes.
Right. Which is so you didn't get that taken care of first, and then doing what you're actually majoring in. Most people usually do that first, right?
Yeah, and for good reason. But for music,
Right.
at least at the school that I go to, uh, it's like it's one of the few majors that they require you like, and this is to set them up for graduating in 4 years.
Uh
But it never works because it's always like too busy of a schedule.
Right. Yeah.
Uh,
It's not humanly possible. Is that what you're trying to
plus,
say?
some people do it. I had a friend who did it and who graduated last year,
Oh,
in four
okay.
years.
That's
Uh,
nuts.
yeah, same degree as me, but
Uh huh.
I don't have that kind of dedication.
Right. Well,
Uh,
you're very dedicated though, to sticking to one fucking thing for what is it? More than 5 years, like almost like 10 years at this point, like 7 8 years, right? Well, as far as like I've known you, because you've been doing music since well, as long as I've known you since which is high school freshman year. So put those years on top of that, and then what you're doing.
yeah,
So
I've been doing it since the fifth grade.
oh shit! I don't know. I don't know what you mean when you say you're not dedicated. That sounds like dedication to me. I don't know the fuck you're on about.
Well,
But
it's more like I don't have the patience or like the work ethic
I
to
see.
take this many. Because like you need to take, if you want to graduate in 4 years at my school in music education,
Mm-hmm.
like they want you to take two general ed classes per semester,
Hmm.
and then like fill the rest up with music.
Okay.
Uh, and there are a ton of music classes that you got to take, so that's why they start you from the very beginning and not just from your third year. Is you got to do 2 years worth of, which is 4 semesters worth of music theory, and then year training, and then you also have to take 4 years worth of music lessons, uh, 4 years in a, what's it called, a large ensemble, which is either wind ensemble, jazz, or choir, or orchestra. Those are like the big four.
Right.
Uh,
Do
and
you
then
okay, go sorry, go on.
Oh yeah, and
Yeah.
then and that's just like lower division stuff. Like, and then you also need to take piano classes until you pass the piano proficiency exam. And once you pass that, that's basically the threshold into crossing into the upper division music classes. Like, what are they called? Crud? No. Uh, what was it called? I'm trying to think of one specific class.
Mhm.
Like, why can't I think of it? Uh, it's like basically going on about the musical form,
Right.
form and
Okay.
analysis. That's it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then you also have, you need to do 3 semesters worth of music history. It's a lot of shit to take.
That is a lot of shit to take. Like that's fucking that sounds overwhelming. And you've done most of it already or all of it already?
Yeah,
Holy
yeah,
shit, dude. What the fuck?
yeah. There's also DL, which is, we everyone calls it DL, but it's called directed listening, which every music student has to take for 8 semesters.
Okay. 8
Uh,
semesters?
yeah, just 4 years.
Just
Uh,
4 years. That's 4 years of your life, just 4 years. Okay.
it's
Uh-huh.
just a class. You everyone meets for an hour on Friday,
Oh,
and
okay.
in the class, it's basically you have to prepare a piece to perform in front of the whole like music department, essentially. Uh,
Wait, like original
and
pieces?
no,
Oh, okay.
just pieces that you work on with your instructor during like your private lessons.
I see. I see.
Yeah,
Okay.
sometimes it'll be like a solo where you play by yourself, or it'll be solo with accompaniment where you'll have uh, the on-site accompanist play the piano with you. Uh, or sometimes they'll let you do like a duet with someone, and it'll both count for your performance
I see.
if
Okay.
it's like equal amounts of like
Playtime?
not playtime, but just equal amounts of like uh, playing like the main part of the piece, essentially.
Oh, okay. That's weird.
Yeah, some for most of the time though, if it's like a duet with someone else, it's someone is playing and it's their DL, but they're just being accompanied by another student.
Okay.
Hardly ever will both students get credit for the performance.
Huh.
And
Weird.
then yeah, and then the other part of DL is they want us to go to 9 concerts and watch them, just to get us out into like that world of musical performance and stuff like that. Uh, at least 6 of the concerts have to be in house at Stan State,
What?
and so yeah,
Why?
so I don't know.
You don't know? Literally, do you think it might have to do with like, hey, look how awesome our campus is, so you have to
No,
enjoy our
not
shit?
no. It's I guess it's to save on money because
Oh, I see.
Yeah, because for the other, and then at least one has to be off campus,
Okay.
and they're really kind of strict on like what counts towards that credit for that one
Hmm.
thing. Because like you can't just go to, let's just say like Shrek the musical and say
You
this
watched?
count.
Yeah.
They want it to be like a professional like symphony orchestra or stuff like that, and those tickets could be expensive sometimes.
Right.
So
Well, I
most
can't.
of the time, I would just go to the Gallo Center
Uh huh.
in a town a little bit off from the school I go to, and I just get like a student seat for like $20 and just go there.
Huh. So is it like 9 concerts like in total? Is it 9 concerts every year, or they just?
It's 9 concerts each semester.
Oh, each semester. Okay. Ooh, what the fuck?
Yeah,
It.
normally I would do 8 like Stanislaus uh, concerts, and then I do my one away.
Hmm.
They do take it down from 9 to 8 concerts if you're in two large ensembles. So,
Okay.
like, if I was in jazz band and wind ensemble, which I have been before,
Uh huh.
instead of going to 9 concerts, I'd have to go to 8.
What the fuck?
Yeah, and
Interesting.
also, if you play in less than 50% of a concert, you can also use that as credit towards your DL. Because
Huh.
you'll be listening to the rest of the concert.
Right.
I would always use jazz band as a DL credit
Right.
because for the jazz concerts you wouldn't just have the big band, which I was a part of. You would
Mm-hmm.
also have the smaller uh, jazz groups.
I
So
see.
like yeah, you'd have like 2 or 3 different groups go on, and then you'd have the big band, or you would have a smaller band go up, and then you'd have the big band,
Right.
and that was less than half the concert. So I would
Hmm.
just be a little sneaky and turn that in.
Right. Well, I mean, it sounds like you got to do what you got to do to get those fucking those assignments in because holy shit, directed listening for 4 years, and you said you go every Friday for an hour, but they also give you shit you have to do outside of DL. So
Yes.
you're technically not, it's not really just an hour every Friday. It's more like extra hours on top of what you're already, and then on top of that you're spending money or making your way around into getting these concerts
Yeah.
to get
Oh,
credit.
I didn't mention, but the concerts in house
Hmm.
at the school,
Uh-huh.
we get music majors get into those for free. So it's not
Yeah,
really like a lot of money.
right. That's what I figured. Right.
Yeah.
But that's still kind of. And how long can these concerts go for? Like how long? How much of your time are you really sitting down and is there like a time limit? Are they asking you, hey, like what are the requirements? Because you said like you can't just go to Shrek, the musical, and just listen to that, have a good time, and turn that in. Like why so picky, and what are the requirements for it to count as credit? I guess is what I'm asking.
Yeah. So they just don't want it to be what you might have heard the name of it before from our high school,
Mm.
but they don't want it to be a pops concert.
Why not? Why not? What's wrong with that?
Well, I it's like I'm going on a limb here. I
Uh
don't
huh.
know why they're called pops concerts.
Uh huh.
It might be because of like popular music.
Right.
Like for a pops concert, you would hear like selections from a movie or uh, just general like music that everyone knows.
Right.
Like most of the time, it's like movie and video game stuff.
Right.
But the concerts that I go to normally that would count for DL would be I remember one that I went to was for Brahms' Hungarian dances and Beethoven's Eroica Symphony, which is his
Mm-hmm.
third one.
Right.
That was the one I went to one year for my away concert.
Hmm.
And then the other one that I remember, I just popped in my head right now, was the um, what's her face? It was an opera. Carmen. That's it. I went to go see Carmen the opera.
Huh. Well, like, I'm still like confused though. Like, what? Like, so are you telling me that the people who are essentially giving you these like guidelines and these rules, you are calling them hipsters? Do they just not enjoy mainstream shit? Is video game music like? Let's take like like One Winged Angel. Is that not real orchestra? Is that not real music? Like, what makes the difference between something like that as opposed to anything that's Beethoven has written?
I I wouldn't say that they're not like calling that music fake or anything. It's more because I almost got credit for going to see a Star Wars concert.
Okay.
Uh, because but they only turned it down because like they want it to be something because it's school. They want it to be something worth learning about.
Right, but isn't
So,
isn't watching the Star Wars opera or orchestra performing worth learning? I mean, these are still professionals playing at an extremely high level, correct? And
but they want it to be like the history, the older stuff. So
okay.
so they want to open like they want to broaden your selections. So like
Hmm.
if someone asks like what's this or something like that. Again, I don't really know why.
Uh huh.
This is just my guess.
Right.
But they don't want you to not know these pieces, you know?
Right. Yeah. It just still seems kind of silly to me because if you I
I know
mean
it is.
it seems like you would still broaden your horizons regardless of what you're listening to because if you listened, let's say like you listened to I don't know, like the Ice Age orchestra and then you listened to like the Final Fantasy orchestra, you can't really compare those two, right? Those are probably as polar opposite as you can get. And I would imagine that if they stuck you into this like into these like, hey, let's just listen to the old people, I would imagine you would just have an ear for old people shit, right?
Oh no, God, no! I hate it. I hate that. I hate it's like it's so it could be like so like polar opposites sometimes. Like I remember for that Brahms and Beethoven concert I went to,
Uh
like
huh.
for the Hungarian dances.
Right.
Like if I played you that song, you'd immediately recognize what I'm talking about.
Uh huh.
Uh, it's the one that goes da 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 ba da da ba da 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 da.
I might.
It, yeah, you'd recognize it for sure. But
Okay.
that one, like, I was alert and paying attention to
Mm-hmm.
the Eroica Symphony. I had another class called instrumental literature
Okay.
that everyone needs to take if you're doing music ed as your
Uh
major,
huh.
and we had to listen to a bunch of different pieces from different eras of music. Like we started with the Baroque era, and
Mm-hmm.
then we went to classical, then Romantic, and then we ended with like more contemporary music
Right.
and modern music. But uh, and each like different unit that we had in that class had a long list of like pieces that we had to listen to
Mm-hmm.
and understand and learn how to identify from a random point in the piece.
Uh
And the Eroica Symphony was in there, so I was just burnt out on the Eroica Symphony. So
huh.
I just like zoned out for almost an hour.
Jesus Christ! And how many songs do you think were on there? Because you said there's a giant list. How much would you estimate? I would say, and how long would each song be?
Well, symphonies can be anywhere from like 30 minutes to like hours
Holy shit!
sometimes. It just depends on who's writing who's writing it, like what era it was made in.
Right.
Because you always hear about how Mozart wrote like hundreds and hundreds of symphonies.
Uh
Well,
huh.
his are really short.
Uh huh.
Beethoven and basically every composer after him only did nine,
Uh huh.
and the only reason why nine is like the standard
Uh huh.
for composing symphonies is because Beethoven died after his ninth,
Okay.
and
Like
he
he just
was
died immediately after writing his ninth.
no, he didn't get to writing a tenth,
Oh,
and
okay. I see.
so
Okay.
and he was like so inspirational and stuff that and like he was so liked in his music by other composers that they didn't do a 10th symphony. They stopped at 9.
Hmm.
And there's two reasons why people stopped at 9.
Uh
It's
huh.
because they didn't want to break what Beethoven did, or they were scared that if they did write a ninth, they would die.
What the fuck? Are you serious?
Yes, so some people only have 8 symphonies.
Really?
Yeah, because they thought that if they would write a ninth, they'd die soon after.
Wait, does this still go on today? I would imagine that it does.
No, not really.
No, people actually write their 10th or even 11th if they choose to, or is this like a tradition? Is this?
It right now we're in a weird state in the music world where there's actually a book I have
Uh huh.
right here. It's written by Leonard Bernstein,
Uh huh.
titled "The Joy of Music." I had to read it for one of my. Well, it was a music ed in the classroom, I think it was.
Mhm.
But we had to do a book report on a book of a choice, and I chose this one because it was written by Leonard Bernstein. But uh, one of the main points he brings up is like, is a symphony still worth writing in this modern world and stuff like that? And so it's not really something that's written all too often,
Mhm.
and if it is, it takes a long time to do it, and so maybe like one or like four, maybe max. There aren't a lot of people composing symphonies
Right.
anymore.
Right.
It's more like they would write just one standalone piece, or because like America kind of moved away from symphonies and kind of moved along to Broadway and musicals.
Right. Like so. Like they've learned to compose like more of like albums and stuff. Right. Like more of a collection of music and like songs and pieces as opposed to have sitting down for 30 minutes to 40 minutes listening to a whole music piece like if you were to watch a movie, right?
Hmm.
Okay. Yeah. Well, like that's what that makes sense. I was gonna ask like if people write symphonies, if anybody still writes symphonies, who's the audience for? Like other than like musicians or people who compose music of their own. Like is it like I wouldn't imagine that there's a very big market for that, right?
Yeah, you'd mostly like if you were to go to a performance, you'd mostly see uh sometimes you'll see a band like a high school, middle school, or elementary school band on a field trip,
Mhm.
or you'd see a lot of old people because they're still like they were a part of that stuff, and then you'd also see like younger people who were raised up on that music, or
Hmm.
they're like in the music world
Right.
already.
Right. Yeah, because there's a very big like you see it a lot in movies, right? Or like the only like the rich people go and spend like 30, 40 minutes watching like a symphony or like an opera.
Yeah.
Um, but it's odd because do they teach you how to construct symphonies, or is that an option that you can something you can do where you're learning, or is it just kind of seen, well, people don't really write or compose them, so there's really no point in teaching you how to make one yourself.
Yeah, there are 4 different tracks I think you can go through.
Mm-hmm.
or like four different. Uh, I forget what they're called, but like your major is music, but your emphasis, that's it,
Mm.
is either instrumental music ed
Mm-hmm.
or uh, vocal music ed,
Mm-hmm.
which is choir,
Right.
and then you could do instrumental performance, where you basically learn and train on to be a like professional,
Right.
either going on to a symphony orchestra or like you'd be in the business of being called down to perform in movie soundtracks, like actually record for the movies and stuff like that.
Right.
Or you could do music tech, which is music technology, which is a
Mm-hmm.
little bit more aligned with like mixing audio, recording stuff, like just basically the type of music, working with the type of music that everyone's most familiar with, like albums, stuff like that. We have a studio at my school that is on par with like a professional mixing studio
Right.
that like Britney Spears would record in. She was the first person that came into my head.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, like you would see, then we have the same equipment, we have the same programs that like a professional studio would have. So you just learn to do all of that.
Right. That's
Uh,
uh-huh, go on.
and then the fifth one is music composition,
Mm-hmm.
where you learn and major in the making of music that people aren't so familiar with, like
Mm.
band music.
Okay. Right. And which direction are you taking?
I'm going instrumental music education.
Okay. Right, because you're trying to be a music teacher, right?
Yes.
Yeah, like a band teacher, like specifically. I think you said something along the lines of um, that you wanted to teach in high schools, right?
Yes, a high
Oh,
school, preferably.
preferably a high school. Why not a middle school or or elementary? Is it just not? You want to? Do you want to do more complicated stuff, or is it just the kids, or like why not? Why high school?
Well, a part of it is the kids.
Uh
Like
huh.
they're much older, they're much more willing to be there because it's like their choice to be there.
Right.
The and like the music's more advanced sometimes, and
Sometimes.
I've learned that I much prefer to like refine and enhance than start up from the beginning. So
Okay.
like to come into most like the majority of students that come in to music class in high school have already played like in band since elementary school or middle school. There are
Right.
some times
Right.
when in high school people decide that they want to play in a band,
Mm.
and that's when you'd start them from the beginning.
Right.
Like I'm okay with doing that. It's just I don't want to be doing it like 24/7 for the
Right.
rest of my career. It's more like I just don't want to be doing the same thing over and over. Like here's how you play this note, here's how you do this, and
Right.
all that.
Right. You kind of already want to be in an area where kids kind of already understand, and you can develop the skills that are already there, already have already been worked on. Like you said, refining and helping them out, right, as opposed to starting them from the ground up. Yeah, that makes sense. I get that.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's cool though. No, I get that. I wanted to I wanted to mention because I'm still hung up on that whole thing, like the fact that that the your instructors essentially are telling you are like essentially like making you they're telling you what isn't essentially they're telling you what isn't real music, and that's not what they're saying, but it really comes off that way, like they're telling you what is real music and what isn't real music, and what you like what is valuable to listen to and what isn't valuable to listen to, where which I think is silly because like if you were working for a video game studio or a movie studio or any kind of studio that just develops music in general at that high of a level, you would imagine that those students went through the same courses that you probably have, right? Or if not even have spent more time in those courses, and they're creating that kind of music. And you can't create orchestra without learning about it and going through all these steps that you're going through. I'm just
Yeah,
I'm
I did
still
a bad I did a bad job of explaining it, but it's
right,
not it's not they're not saying this isn't real music
right.
like at all. It's just it's hard to explain, but they
Uh,
don't really think that way.
okay. Well, I mean, I would hope not, because like like you listen to like I think a like music that comes in my head immediately, is like Cuphead. Like Cuphead, like when I think of Cuphead, I think of like holy shit, like goddamn, like listen to that, listen to those fucking tunes, and like you can tell that those are all actual instruments that are being recorded and they're not electronic, and you can tell they're in the studio, and like you can just tell that they've invested a lot of time into like developing music for that game. Same thing with like even Super Smash Brothers, creating the intro to Ultimate, like
Hmm.
how many hours would like could go into creating that intro alone? Like how many people do you think it takes to create an intro like Smash Ultimate?
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
like yeah, I don't know. Like, is there any like, are there any like what is it? Any orchestras from any video games or any music that you really enjoy in particular that you felt like you've learned from? Even just movies. Like, is there anything that sticks out in particular? Like something you're like, holy shit! Like, I want to be able to do that like at some point eventually, or like listen to the way that he or she composed this piece, and is there anything that sticks out to you in particular?
There's one technique that I've learned about while in school
Mm-hmm.
where I it gives like it's called the leitmotif.
Okay.
If you've ever heard of it before.
I have, but
Uh,
I'm obvious. I don't study music, so I don't know the.
yeah.
Yeah, explain it to me, and yeah.
Basically, it, it's basically giving a theme to like a person, object, or idea,
Mm-hmm.
and the best use of it. Well, it started with Wagner and
Okay.
his uh, like way back, like before movies and video games, but Wagner used it a lot in his operas, and the the most like noticeable use of it in today is like by John Williams. Uh, basically, like you've seen the Star Wars movies, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So whenever the Force is mentioned, like what do you hear? You hear that da 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 da
Right.
da.
Yeah.
You hear that. That is like the Force theme. That's a leitmotif. Whenever the Force is mentioned or something like that, you hear that song. It's like it's also with Princess Leia's theme.
Right.
Uh, the da 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 da.
Right.
You'll
Right.
like anytime Leia's on screen, you hear that, especially in the sequels. Uh,
Right.
and it really helps me like visualize what I'm listening to.
Mm-hmm.
Like uh, a good example is the Kung Fu Panda trilogy
Uh-huh.
of movies.
Uh-huh.
Uh, because like it's very like what's it called? It's being very sneaky with leitmotifs
Uh-huh.
because whenever you're in, I forget I forget the name of the village that the Jade Palace sits above, but You'll often hear that theme of the da 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 ba da da ba da da da. That
Right.
is
Oh yeah,
the
yeah, yeah, yeah,
that
yeah.
is the village.
Uh huh.
Like whenever you hear that, you know that Poe is in the village. Uh, and in the third movie, they really do the theme of like the Dragon Warrior, which is da 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 da
Right.
da 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 da, and like you just they really hammer that home.
Yeah, I
It's like,
think no, it's those are fantastic movies with amazing with an amazing soundtrack as well. Phenomenal storytelling as well. I fucking love those movies. I remember I was watching that with my roommate recently, and he was reluctant to watch it because he's not a big fan of Jack Black, and
uh-huh.
he didn't have much to say after we finished watching them because he knew he enjoyed the movie. He just didn't want to admit it. Yeah, no, that's so leitmotifs are essentially like as a story. It's just another storytelling tool that writers or even or musicians can use to kind of inform the audience or the viewer about something or a character or just to kind of like set an atmosphere. I think one when you mentioned that when you were explaining it, one thing that immediately came to mind is the Prowler. Um, the Prowler,
Uh-huh.
the Prowler. Whenever he shows up on screen, is like that eerie screech, like that you hear whenever he shows up, which
Uh-huh.
I can't replicate because I don't it because it just sounds so it's just so like low and intimidating like just they always like there's that scene where Miles is visiting Peter Parker's tombstone, and you see a shadow crawling up behind him, and you hear his leitmotif in the background, but he turns around and they subvert your expectation by it being actually Peter Parker from the other. Oh, you
Uh,
good?
Sometimes Discord does this thing where it just stops giving me audio.
That's okay. That's fine. I was just saying that they subvert your expectation because they play that leitmotif and they make you think that the Prowler is sneaking up on Miles, and then he turns around and it turns out to be Peter Parker from the alternate dimension. So I guess I'm familiar with the leitmotif. I just didn't
Oh,
know the
that's crazy.
actual.
I just listened to it.
Yeah. um, I I've been familiar with the leitmotif. I guess I didn't know what the definition of it was. I guess I know how to use it. I just never thought about it. That's how I am with music in general though. Like I don't know how to write music. I don't know how to compose it, but I know once I start playing, I know what I like. I know what I like when I hear it. And then I'll just or like if a tune comes into my head, I'll hum it, and I like the way it sounds. And then I'll just leave it alone. I don't actually know how to write or put shit down on paper. But yeah, I mean like, but I would imagine you can learn all that though, right? Like somebody is because I've heard like people are like tone deaf. Like, can people actually
Uh,
be tone deaf? Is that something that can be corrected, or is that something that you're just like unfortunately fucking stuck with?
um, I believe, yeah, you can be tone deaf. It's, uh, I forget what the actual term of it is.
Hmm.
Oh, amusia. That's it. It's, they can't hear the differences in pitch.
Huh.
So, like, if you were to, for example, go A, B, C, D, E, F, G, they'd hear it as A, B, C, D, E, F, G. They'd just the same note.
Right.
They wouldn't be able to differentiate like the changes in pitch.
Sounds fucking terrible. Holy shit.
Yeah,
Like,
it's very rare. Like if someone says they're tone deaf, like they just can't sing. It's not really like tone deaf.
what is it? Just an excuse for people who can't sing to? to use as.
Most of the time, yeah.
Ah, that's funny. That's fucking hilarious. So like, if you ever hear somebody like singing, they're like, "Oh my god, I'm tone deaf." It's just they're just using excuses for their shitty singing.
Yeah, for
uh,
the most part.
right. Well, like I would imagine that would fuck up a lot of enjoyment from music, right? Like you would probably hear a lot of that shit the same, and you probably wouldn't be able to enjoy it as much as you normally would. It's basically like the audio version of colorblind. Would that be safe to say? It's just,
Uh,
or do you think being colorblind is much worse?
well, I don't know. I can't really,
Can't really speak on that front.
like,
Yeah, no,
yeah, because like
no.
I don't know how,
The differences
uh,
between color
well,
blindness and
I don't know how colorblind people see really. Like, well, I
right,
guess if it's red green, I'd see, kinda actually, yeah. Like if they can't, well, for unless you're like absolutely like I only see gray colorblind, then yes. But for most people, well, I don't want to assume.
right,
Uh, like if you're red green, like you'll have trouble differentiating between the colors red and green.
right,
Like, and so it'll be hard to tell the difference between the two, but you'll see the other colors just fine. But for
right.
tone deaf, it'd be like you can't hear anything.
Right. That's not. Yeah. Either way, it's
It'd
not a good
kind of be
time.
like that.
Yeah. Either way, it's not a good time. You mentioned that you need to take piano and then you need to like pass like the what is it like the piano courses to advance forward into the intermediate class.
Yeah, so everyone takes the class, basic class piano,
Uh huh.
where you learn uh, how to play like all of the scales, like the major scale, like every major scale, and then every minor scale in each of its three forms,
Okay.
with two hands playing at the same time and going in two octaves.
Okay.
And you have to learn all the correct fingerings for it. And then once you do the scales, you move on. Like we also have to learn the arpeggios,
Hmm.
which are just the so like for a C chord, it'd be C E G C.
Right.
And then you'd also do that in two octaves, and then you'd work on some cadences. You have like a simple block cadence,
Hmm.
which is just 1 4 1 5 5 7 1, and then you do the baseline cadences, which are different, and you'd learn them everything you'd learn in the major and minor keys.
Okay.
Let's see. Is there anything else? Oh, there's the inversions where you'd play a chord in root position, and then you'd play the same chord in first inversion, and then you'd play it again in second inversion.
And what's an inversion? What is that?
So, yeah, a root position chord.
Hmm.
But we'll just use C,
Okay.
for example.
Right.
A C chord are the notes C, E, and G.
Right.
A C chord is in root position when C is the bottommost note.
Okay.
It's the root of the chord, and it's in root position.
Oh, okay. I see. All right.
Yeah. So first inversion would be you take the C, like to quote that Patrick, you take the C and you push it somewhere else. You put the C on top of the chord.
Uh-huh.
So now, if you were reading from bottom up in order, it'd be
Mhm.
E, G, C. It's still a C major chord, but the E is now the bottommost note. So
Right.
that's first inversion.
Okay. I
And
see.
then for second inversion, you do the same thing that you did with the C with the E now. So you put the
Ah.
C, so you put the E on top. So your chord order, your note order in the chord from bottom up is GCE.
GCE.
That would
Okay.
be that would be second version.
Right. Okay. And then this just repeats itself.
You just do root position, first position.
Ah.
I
Okay.
mean root, and then first, and then second versions.
Jesus. Well, like it sounds like fuck, dude. That's a fucking mouthful. Holy shit. That's a lot. What the fuck? Like,
Yeah,
I mean,
there's more to the test
right?
too.
No, no. I believe you. There's like music. It's one well because it's weird because music is one of those things that is it's one of the most extreme. It's one of the more extremely complicated art forms, and yet you'll have people who don't know shit about music and make millions, like millions of dollars every year. Like you have like a lot of rappers, right? You have like a lot of SoundCloud kids who go on SoundCloud and they write some poetry and they try to find somebody or even they create some beats of their own and sometimes it doesn't work, but a lot of the times it doesn't work, and sometimes you get Joji or like Tyler the Creator or even Dax. But there's also like a shit ton of mumble rappers nowadays. Like, do you listen to any rap at all? Do you like what how is like rap seen in the music community, just in general? Do you know?
Well, I personally don't listen to it,
Uh huh.
but that's just my like preference of music.
Right.
Like if I'm in my car listening to music, it's mostly either like rock or metal or
Mm-hmm.
movie and video game soundtracks. Most
Right.
of the time, it's the soundtracks.
Right.
Uh, but there is like a like not a phrase, but you could call it vocal percussion,
Okay.
which percussion is basically any instrument that you uh, beat or that you can pluck. Well, I wouldn't. No, not pluck. Yeah, not pluck. That you beat with either a mallet or your hands or a stick.
Okay.
And it's not that simple, but that's
Right.
essentially what it is.
Right. That's the bare bones
Usually,
of
yeah,
yeah.
usually you'd either be hitting like a wooden or metal block with a mallet, or you'd hit like some sort of membrane with
Right.
a stick or
Right.
mallet.
Okay.
But and it's all very uh, rhythmic, like rhythm based, and it has a lot of impact and stuff like that. And you're basically just doing that with your mouth. That's
So
a
like
lot of
like
a lot of
beatboxing?
beatboxing too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah,
You
like
don't you don't really talk about rap a lot unless you're in the music tech
mhm.
major,
Okay. Yeah.
because you don't really work with that kind of music unless you're in that major
Right,
or that
that's where the
career.
that's where like the EPs come from, right? That's where like they get the mixers and people who just
Yeah.
generally create the music beats that people can rap to. Um you said you listen to soundtracks in the car. What do you listen to?
Let me pull up my phone.
Like what's your go-to, Like what are some of your favorite tracks?
I'll let you know some of my favorite composers. It's John Williams. You can't go wrong with him. There's also John Powell. He's a favorite of mine. He's done Robots. He did the Ice Age films. He did some of the Kung Fu Panda movies with Hans Zimmer.
Right.
He also did Solo, a Star Wars story.
I haven't seen that one yet.
Um, and then there's Michael Giacchino.
Mhm.
He's the one responsible for making you cry at the 10 minutes of Up.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah.
That's funny.
He also did the new Spider-Man movies
Like
from
Homecoming?
Marvel. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
He does the Marvel occasionally.
Huh.
I think he might have done Ant-Man.
I gotta
Uh,
say, in that case, not a big fan of his music in Spider-Man. But
he doesn't do Ant-Man.
no, Spider-Man.
Oh yeah, no, yeah.
Yeah, that's.
Uh,
I gotta say, it's not personally.
and
I.
a big part of that
Uh huh.
isn't like the composer.
Right.
What they do for Marvel movies
Uh huh.
is you basically have like this like so everything looks normal when you're editing and stuff like that.
Right.
For a movie, they have these filler soundtracks.
Mm-hmm.
Like you just pick and pull from this library of uh like temporary music for your
Mm-hmm.
movies. But the people in charge will kind of like tell the composer, make it sound like this. So they're not really given full creative
Liberty.
liberty with the Marvel movies. That's why
Hmm.
not really a lot of Marvel movies have uh, memorable soundtracks. Like you'll occasionally have some with like the Ant-Man theme, Captain America's theme,
Right.
the Guardians of the Galaxy is a good one, and the Avengers theme. But
Right.
those are like it out of like what 23 movies.
Yeah. I mean, well, with me especially, I'm very, very, very passionate about Spider-Man. So,
Oh yeah,
when
I remember. Yeah,
yeah, so when it comes to doing justice to the character, I don't feel like the Homecoming movies have been doing justice to him. Like, um, like I'm a big Raimi fan. I am, but I do also kind of like the soundtrack that they had in Andrew Garfield's film. But like when you listen to the Raimi soundtrack, like when Spider-Man like becomes Spider-Man and he's swinging and it's like it's like and it's like it's so it's so good. It's so fucking good, man. I fucking love it. But it's like it's just full of like epicness and like this is a superhero and like but I feel like Tom Holland's is kind of like because he has that theme where it's like dun 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 dun
uh-huh.
dun dun, dun and it's like okay, like I'm not whatever. I don't know. I just feel like it falls flat, as opposed
Uh-huh.
to the other Spider-Man stuff I've heard. Um, but yeah, I totally went on a tangent there. But yeah, no, I do feel like Marvel soundtracks, at least nowadays, they need to kind of step it up. I don't know who it is, who's in charge, or who the fuck is making these decisions. Because I can't really think of too many soundtracks from Marvel movies that I actually enjoy or have ever come back to listening to. I guess except for Guardians of the Galaxy, but Guardians of the Galaxy doesn't really count because they use a lot of they have a lot of homages to songs that existed in like what is it, the 70s or the 80s.
Yeah, they use a lot of the like classic rock
Right.
stuff, or like not classic rock, but the classics.
Yeah, exactly. So Marvel technically, didn't really do anything with that soundtrack. It's more like they just kind of used it in a setting that felt appropriate. Um,
Yeah, you do have some original music
yeah,
for
no,
the Guardians.
yeah, you do. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Um,
yeah.
yeah. And then did you have any others?
The only one I haven't mentioned uh, was like Hans Zimmer.
Mm-hmm.
Like I
Oh,
mentioned him
yeah,
with John Powell.
yeah.
Yeah, he did the Pirates of the Caribbean. He did Rango.
I see. He's done some good ones then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bear McCreary's pretty good too. He did the newest Godzilla movie, King of the Monsters.
Yeah, those are pretty good too. Yeah, those are pretty good. They, at least with what they're trying to express in the films, I think they do a pretty good job. Did you see Shin Godzilla?
Yeah, I did.
You have. That one's fucking. I mean, as far as soundtrack goes, I don't really. Well, that one's pretty cool too, actually. But I think that's the original. I think they just like kind of like refined the original Godzilla soundtrack, I believe. Whereas like bum 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 or some shit. Like it's just like the heavy, like
Yeah.
low. Yeah, that shit was fucking cool. Oh, and then when he's destroying the city, I forget what the lyrics are, but it's like something about like
Yeah,
I don't remember the
it's
lyrics.
like a solo. It's like a solo soprano singer
Yeah,
singing.
it's fucking amazing, dude. Oh man, that was so fucking good. Holy shit. As far as like they absolutely killed it. I personally like Shin Godzilla over the American ones
Uh huh.
because I feel like they captured the destructive nature of Godzilla a little better. But I will say King of Monsters and I think even the first one they did a really good job of setting a lot of atmosphere. Um, but yeah, those are nice. Those are good. And then Pirates of the Caribbean, holy shit! Like literally the most infamous. Did he write that one? The
Yeah.
that was him.
Yeah, that's Hans Zimmer.
That's nuts, dude. Like imagine fucking writing that fucking gold mine, dude. That's like as classic as the fucking Star Wars intro. At least I think. I can't really think like I can't think of. I personally can't. Well, I guess there's a few like One Winged Angel and some other ones like some really stand out like sound like music themes, but Pirates of the Caribbean is definitely up there for sure. At least in the general public's eyes. Um, but yeah, no, I've heard his name pop up a couple times in studying film. Um, but you said you listen to like a lot of like metal, right, and like rock, right?
Yeah, a little bit.
Right. Do you still listen to Pentakill?
Not really. I haven't really uh, been in like the League of Legends space the past like month. I
Really?
stopped play. I stopped playing it.
Oh, cool. That's probably for the best, honestly.
Yeah, like once I got back from the Disneyland trip,
Uh huh.
I played a game of it with some friends,
Uh huh.
and I was just not having fun.
Uh
And
huh.
I said to them, it's like, I don't think I want to play this game anymore. And then I never did.
That's good. I mean, like, there's definitely some people where they get to the point where it's like, nah, this is not the game for me. Well, because it's definitely like my roommate's absolutely fucking addicted to that fucking game.
Uh,
I play like single player game now. I just play it like to have fun. I don't really go out of my way to climb anymore. Like I think I'm silver 2 right now with like maybe 10 LP. I'm not, but I haven't. I take dumb runes on Akali and I don't really do much. But yeah, I rarely play it now. It really does take up a shit ton of your time that you could be doing other stuff. I did want to mention though. Do you have you listened to any of the soundtracks from League of Legends? Do you take time to listen to any of their music? Because I mean, their music is still fucking great. At least I think so.
um, event like when I played it, I would listen to some character themes, but that was really all I really ever did, like
Hmm.
music wise for it.
Right. Right. Was there any that stuck out to you in particular?
Uh, I think my two favorites were Urgot's and Jim's theme.
Jin. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Talk about a good fucking theme, dude. Jin has. I don't know if it's the best theme. I don't know if it's the best theme out of all of them, but it's definitely fucking awesome though. It's definitely fucking
Uh-huh.
amazing. Like, what is it? They use gunshots as like almost like as an instrument and like what?
Uh-huh. Yeah, I really enjoy when they like the composer will incorporate elements of what they're composing for into the piece. Like for Jin, they make like a lot of reloading, the cocking the gun noises,
Mm-hmm.
and then like some shooting. It really doesn't sound like shooting to me though. It sounds more like a drum more than anything.
Right. Well,
But
like it definitely sounds like there's a reloading animation in there for sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But the biggest, like the and most notable version of that is in the robots score.
Mm.
They use a lot of like drills and power tools,
Huh.
and like in the songs. Like if you listen to the overture of that
Mm-hmm.
soundtrack, then you'll you'll definitely hear it like within like the first like couple seconds. You'll just hear like a power drill just go off for like a second.
Right. Yeah, and I haven't seen that movie in a while, and I should probably check it back out. I scrolled past it a few times, but honestly, I'm like, I don't know, like I'm really hesitant because I don't know if I want to invest that time in a movie that I might not even like. um, but it, I should at least check out the soundtrack then, because I think this is like the fourth time I've heard, not today, but this is like fourth or fifth time I've heard you mention it in our previous conversations. Um, so I definitely feel like I should definitely take the time to check that out then. If you keep mentioning it, if you keep bringing it up. Um, how do you feel about jazz?
I say play the right notes. No, ja-
Oh man.
jazz could be really fun to play.
Mhm.
It's for the most part, it's not something I would want to do forever,
Uh huh.
but it's kind of like a every like once in a while thing for me.
Mhm.
Like especially like at the college level. I remember when I was in it one semester for the last piece of the concert, we played "Sing Sing Sing."
Mhm.
Uh, you've heard of it before. It's I'll send it to you,
Uh huh.
but it's so much fun to play. Like as soon as you hear it, like you'll go, "Oh, this song."
Right.
Here, let me.
Yeah. Just
There
shoot
we
that.
go.
Shoot that my way. Oh. Wait. I might be familiar with this.
Yeah, I played
Wait.
this
When was this?
live.
When was this made?
1935.
1935. Hold up. Let me give this some volume. Hold up. Give me a second. I did. Ooh. Ooh. Yeah, that's good. Yes, sir. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
pretty good.
like
That's some good stuff. Yeah.
yeah. At the end of the concert, a lot of people like were coming up to us and saying like that was the best concert we came to like this season, and we're like, hell yeah, that song's great.
um. Yeah. I don't know how much of that I can play before before YouTube takes my fucking clip down. I don't know if it's available to what is it, general public. How long does a song have to be out for it to be public domain in the public domain?
I think it's either 80 or 100. It might be 70 actually. Like any time between 70 to 100 years after the creator's death. Let
Hmm.
me look it up.
Interesting. Weird. Yeah, cause there's shit. All I'm gonna say is that like 150 years from now, people are gonna have a lot of music to pick from and creating in their projects and shit. Um, for their free movies and stuff. I mean, that's like we rehash a lot of songs for a lot of
It's
our
90,
movies.
95. 95
95,
years.
95 years. Yeah, because
Yes.
we rehash a lot of music in even modern cinema, right? And a lot of like I think the first song that comes up to mind is that one from 2009's A Space Odyssey. You know,
Uh-huh.
everybody knows the ba ba ba. You know,
Yeah.
da da. You know, um, that one's the first one that comes to mind. Like that one is used in like every fucking movie ever. It's like the Wilhelm scream at this point. It's like if you don't have it in your film, you're like it's not really a movie. Um,
Uh,
but do you know who composed that? I because I have
2001: A Space
as
Odyssey.
a, I think it's 2001 a space is 2001 that's what it's called.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't remember I don't know who composed that. Do you know who composed that? Cuz fuck, like I'm sure that person's dead by now, but they would be making a shit ton of money if they were still alive today. I'd be sure. Let me see. Let me see. Um I don't know if I can. That's funny. Uh, it's so funny. I just okay. So
Wait,
I
really?
I've been looking for you two.
what? What'd you find?
Madam M wanted me to give you a message. She says you got
Oh
a
no,
and that you should swing by her
it's
shop when you're
funny.
done. Got it? I was
The
also hoping
there's the reason why, if you look it up, there's so many composers given credit for
Hmm.
that movie.
Okay.
It's because like Richard Strauss, uh, and then I don't want to try and pronounce that name, and then Gregory Ligotes,
Hmm.
at like uh, oh, and Johann Strauss.
That name
It's
is
because
rings a bell.
yeah, they're old classical romantic era composers.
Hmm.
They're yeah, they're doing that movie does what you were talking about, making older pieces uh like more popularity in like the modern time and stuff like
Right.
that. Because I could play you, well, maybe not Atmosphere. That piece is boring, but uh, that waltz. Oh,
Hmm.
hey, been
I
waiting for you.
think that's
So,
the waltz I'm
what are you in the
thinking
mood
about.
tonight?
Uh,
Well, cause I remember I remember watching 2001: A Space Odyssey when I was in high school. Remember because we had Miss A's class and she had us like I think before you took the class we had to watch like there was like a list of movies we had to watch or something.
oh, I didn't
Um,
do that.
you didn't do that?
I think I watched like a couple of them.
That's
That
funny.
was that was it.
That's hilarious. Well, I also remember you not being in that class too often. I also remember you just leaving for band like every single time. It was always like you were never in class. Um, but I
Slander.
slander. I don't really remember you being there all that much. I do remember you leaving a lot. Um, but I remember we had to sit down and like there was that list of movies and um, I remember Justin. He's like, dude, you gotta watch 2001: A Space Odyssey. That one's really good. And I'm like, okay, I'll take the time to watch it for sure. Um, and I remember sitting down and watching that fucking movie and booting it up. And I was like, okay, you know, the movie's starting. So far, it's pretty good. I like the way it's starting. It's pretty interesting. I like what what the message is conveying and how it's conveying it. It's very intriguing. And then it took like about 30 minutes for the movie to have any kind of dialogue. Like 30 minutes
Yeah.
into yeah, and it was just like, oh my god, this movie's so fucking boring. And I remember I wrote a review about it because that's what Miss A wanted us to do. She wanted us to write reviews about the movies we watched. And I wrote this
Yeah.
hefty review about how I didn't like 2001: A Space Odyssey and like the flaws with it, and like just everything that was wrong with it. And she gave me an A+ for that review. She's like, oh my god. She's like, your review is amazing, even though like you're in the minority. She's like, I get it. And I'm like, yeah, this movie's fucking lame. um, I was like, and I get it, you know, it's like the next step in human evolution, space baby, whatever, fuck, right? I get it, like I get the point of the movie, but still, it's fucking lame. It's so fucking boring. I was just not. I was not enjoying it. I did not enjoy that movie. The Class was fun. I think The Class was pretty fun, but I didn't enjoy. I didn't enjoy that movie. Very lame. You sent me. You sent me another one.
Yeah,
John Strauss.
that's a theme that goes into what you were saying
Oh,
that
it's
people use a lot.
Oh yeah, yeah. This definitely is. This definitely does get used a lot for sure. Yep. Yep. You can't really go wrong with that, can you? Huh? There. So why? Like I. Okay. So like I was talking to my roommate the other day about this, specifically with movies, because I'm a big movie nut. Um. Why use songs that have already been composed as opposed to making your own pieces? I know it'll save you money, right? But don't you feel like it would give a film or a project more character if it had an original soundtrack?
Uh, I don't really know all the answers.
Uh-huh.
One of them might just be budget.
Right.
The other one might be because these are well-known pieces already, and they already fit what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if all of a sudden, they do this in Rango.
Uh-huh.
Rango is probably the best example of this. In the song, let me look up the name of it real quick. Okay, it's called Medley Bats / Rango theme / Riders or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
No, Rango theme / Ride of the Valkyries / oh great, a German word. And they're shown in blown.
Right.
The now. Oh yeah, see, the blue Danube waltz. That's what it is. Basically, they're mixing together Rango's theme and the theme of the Bats with Ride of the Valkyries and the Blue Danube, which is the song I just sent you the latest.
Right.
And Flight of the Valkyries going da 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 da.
Right. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that is like they use it to like they just associate it with those songs are associated with different things. Like if you hear Flight of the Valkyries, you think of airplanes, you think of something coming from above, something's flying in.
Mm-hmm.
Like and it's sometimes it's the cavalry, sometimes it's the enemy.
Right.
In this case it's the enemy, it's the bats. This song's also one of those things where like I can see the movie happening as I'm hearing the soundtrack because it's so well written.
Mm-hmm.
And at one point, their cart, when they're running away through this chasm,
Mm-hmm.
their cart crashes and they go into the air. And there's this small little comedic slow-mo scene where Rango is like pretending to fly and stuff like that. And that's where they play the waltz that I sent you.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
It's just what like if you already have something that a well-known theme is already like well associated with, like why not just use that if you can get it?
Right, but like, wouldn't some people see that as lazy?
Maybe some like snobs. I don't really see it as lazy.
Really?
No.
Because you could create your own pieces. You could recreate an original piece that still fits the theme or whatever situation you're trying to, the scene essentially. And also in part you could be creating the new status quo. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I see that, but there a lot of music in our society is you're not gonna do that. Sadly,
It's not happening.
They're called the old masters for a reason. They
Mm.
created this system. They mastered it. Like they created all these masterpieces. Like there's a lot of people in the music world that think composing isn't worth it now because everything that could be composed has already been thought
Hmm.
of.
Really?
Hmm.
What do you think of that?
It definitely has some uh, sound arguments, but they also didn't have the technology we have now and different methods for composing.
Right.
So, and that those new methods of composing are due to there not being anything original anymore. So they had to come up with new ways to make original stuff.
Right. Huh.
That's why music changed drastically, like the last two centuries.
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, if you like, even if you look back to the '70s, the '80s, that wasn't too long ago. Like, music was fucking. Even music back then was fucking weird. We had some weird shit going on back then. Um, and a lot of people can argue that like music has kind of degenerated today. Everything is just played in the standard C chord, and that's how you write a hit song, right? You just
The
play this
same four chords,
you
yeah.
play the same four chords, and people fucking fall in love with it, which is true, but at the same time, like you said, why would you reinvent the wheel if you know the formula that already works, you know
Hmm.
why would you go out of your way to learn all this complexion when you could just write a song about how write a song about a red cup and how much you like drinking out of that red cup and send it off to the masses, and then it makes
Hmm.
you millions of songs, and it only took you like maybe like a couple hours, and a couple hours of writing some lyrics, and some 808s here and there, and and maybe a little bit of drums there, and that's it. You're good. You're making millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Like, do you think like do you think that maybe your art form is dying? Like, do you feel that way about it?
Uh, Not really,
Mm-hmm.
because it's not just like it's a global language essentially. It's
Right.
not just something pertained in the U.S. It's a worldly thing, and um, I forget where I was gonna say go with that, but it definitely won't go away. Just because if it does, movies would suck.
Right. But
It's
what if we have like an AI who just figures out, like how to replicate music and the stories it's trying to convey, and then you know, and then you're out of a job. What then? Oh,
well,
you know what happens then?
I'll be retired by then, so
I'll be good. I'm done. I'm out. I mean, technology is getting scary, man. You know what I mean? Like, shit, people are getting replaced by shit like that all the time. As crazy as it may sound, but I think we'll be good for another few years or so. But I agree. I mean, movies would absolutely suck if we didn't have this like people to compose them, as well as like video games, like the grand scale of everything and the epicness. You guys are essentially taught how to do that, though, right? Would that be part of like music theory, or like you are you guys are you taking courses on how to tell stories through music? Is that something you guys just kind of figure out as you go, or like yeah,
yeah.
what's with that?
Well, it's not taught in my major. It may be
Uh-huh.
taught in music composition,
Uh-huh.
but I don't think it's something specifically taught.
Hmm. So it's more of like it's more of like an artist, like somebody going to art school who's learning to draw. It's more like they teach you the fundamentals, but it's up to you to kind of apply those fundamentals into creating something, well, creative.
Yeah.
Hmm. I see. so they don't sit you down and go like, okay, like we were just talking right now, like this song, um, this song implies that there's the villain's approaching, or the song is like when the hero rises from the ashes, and here is like the swelling of the music, and then silence, and then you know what I'm saying? Like they don't.
Yeah, like music composition students will have like their own lessons,
Mm,
but instead of like playing an instrument, they meet with their instructor and they go over the pieces that they're writing. And you could explain that, like, this is what I'm going for, and like they'll do their best to help you, like,
mm-hmm.
set that image with the music. But yeah, it's something that is completely feasible to do.
Okay. Yeah, because like it doesn't seem like that's really an easy thing to teach. I know
It's
there.
not.
Well, because like some people have got it right. Some people understand it. Some people can just kind of feel it better than others. Or do you think it's something that could be? Do you think it's something that can absolutely be taught, or do you think some people just have it and you can't really do much about that?
I think it's both. I think that you can learn to do it. It's just that some people will just understand it more naturally.
I see. So essentially, it'll just take much longer for other people to get a grasp on it, as opposed to somebody who kind of already. Um,
It all depends,
right.
because the person who just starts out is going to be making bigger leaps in progress, and like they're going to be getting better and better. But the person who it comes to naturally and is already really good at it, they're going to
Mhm.
be making very very small gradual improvements.
Mhm.
And to that person, it'll look and feel like they aren't getting better, and they're seeing everyone else do all this stuff. So really, just anyone can do it. Really.
Hmm. Um, I this just popped in my head. Um, how does health play into playing instruments? Like, do you guys have a lot of obese people like in your classes?
Um. Well, you if you're like a smoker or someone like that, I don't think you'd have a lot of success playing a wind instrument.
Uh-huh.
There are instruments that don't require like breathing or being like in good health to
Uh-huh.
play. Uh, it's all just a matter of like just like how, I don't know. It's like anyone can play an instrument really, but if you're like I guess like if you're just like a really bad smoker, or you drink, like if you want to do anything with your voice, just don't smoke, just don't drink, because you're just ruining your instrument, which is your voice.
Right.
Like if you do all that,
Right.
and like a lot of sugar and a lot of caffeine's bad for it too.
Well, what do you say about like the classic rock and roll guys, the ones who just smoke every day and still have beautiful voices like Dio, or
Well, I
even
don't know. Well,
yeah.
they're not. Some of them aren't, but they're not really singing the same way that a a classically trained singer would
Mm,
sing. They're almost like two different styles of singing.
really.
Yeah, it's a little more complicated to go over,
I can do
but
yeah, let's do complicated. Why not?
uh, it's basically you're not singing through your, yeah, gosh,
Mhm.
it well you're I'm trying to think of how to explain it.
Okay.
You're not singing through your nose, essentially. Like
Okay.
you really gotta open the throat up and like uh, relax everything and stuff like that. Because if you were to sing right now, you wouldn't be singing the way the classical uh, like a classically trained singer would be singing.
Hmm.
Like in every example, like I've sung for you, I haven't been doing it either. I know how
Right.
to do it, but it's really not something that comes naturally.
Right.
And I can't say for all of them. I know Queen does it.
Uh-huh.
The in some of their pieces or in some
Hmm.
of their songs, Queen
Right.
does it, but not all of them. It's essentially like uh, two different instruments, I guess you could say.
Hmm. Really? Like, so you can't really compare the two. Like it's more like
Yeah,
if you wanted to sing classically, it would take a whole different like set of skills for you to get to that point. And then if you wanted to sing, what would you call what would you call something like Dio or like the older like rock guys? Like what would you classify
uh,
them like like
I
mainstream? Uh,
I don't know. It's not my emphasis of music. I don't really
really?
focus too much on the vocal. It's
Huh.
all instrumental for me.
Oh, okay, I see.
Yeah,
I see. All right.
yeah. I don't have all the answers.
Right. No, that's fine. I mean, like, it should, well, because if there's anybody else I'm gonna ask, it'd be you. Like, I think you're
Hmm.
probably the most you're the most like musically educated individual
Hmm.
I personally know. Um,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
that's
and that's good for like general music stuff because everyone has to learn like the basics of music and all that, but
right.
it eventually branches out, and you don't really connect the other branches that
Really.
often.
Hmm.
So you mostly just focus on your own branch, and for me, that's instrumental.
Okay. So there's like a lot of like like subsets and like communities of within the music genre. So it's not you can't just kind of you can't really clump music as a whole. Like there's different groups within music itself. So you guys can't really call yourselves like so you guys aren't really like a community. It's more of like the same way you guys just do everything differently, right? You don't really see like classical people hanging out with like rock punks, and you don't really see rock punks hanging out with like rappers, and you don't really see rappers hanging out with classical singers or instrumentalists, right? You guys are all just kind of doing your own thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's like the different branches of the military.
Uh
Like
huh.
you have the U.S. military as a whole, and
Hmm.
then you have different branches. You have the Air Force, you have the Navy, you have the Marines, you have the infantry. So I think that's a division. You have what are they called? The Coast Guard.
Right.
You have different divisions, and they don't do a lot of stuff to get like they don't work together like 24/7. Like they'll do joint operations with each other, uh, and then once they're done with that, they just go on their separate ways. It's kind of like that.
I see. Okay. Yeah, so you guys just kind of cross paths every now and then, but you guys don't really linger on with each other. You guys are,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
But every branch goes through boot camp,
right. Okay,
and
yeah,
and that's the basics of music.
that makes sense. That makes a lot more sense. So at the end of the day, you guys are all kind of you're all doing different things for different people in different and very extremely different ways. Um, so it's kind of I guess you would say it's kind of unfair to put you all in the same category, right?
Almost, yeah,
Yeah, because of how different you all are.
yeah. And it all like seems very different, but there are a lot of similarities between it
Right.
all. It's uh, just that, yeah. It's like very like for teaching, a lot of it is very similar. You just got to put it in the right context and in the right verbiage so that they understand it.
Yeah, that makes sense. So like it's almost so I guess while we're on metaphors, do you guys like speak the so you guys I would assume you guys speak the same language then, right? You guys like
Yeah,
okay, right. So you could so if you wanted to, let's say if you met up with like a rocker, right? Like let's say a metal guy, and you guys wanted to create a piece together and combine, your two professions together. You guys could speak essentially speak in this language that us normies wouldn't be able to understand and still come out with something that's pretty competent.
yeah, because the example that immediately popped into my head was like the ending for Shrek 2 when
Uh-huh.
Fairy Godmother is like, in C minor, boys, play it in C minor. And then
Right.
like the whole band just starts playing. And
Right.
says like she spoke their language. She said C minor. They're playing in the key of C minor for her
Okay.
now.
Right. Which is an amazing finale, by the way. Shrek 2, that ending part was fucking awesome, dude. Holy shit, talk about a great finale. That movie's just perfect in general. That movie's just
Mhm.
fucking awesome. But yeah, that makes sense. Do you think
What do you say, Cloud?
do you think you would have a much easier time learning these other branches since you kind of have a better understanding of the basics? Or do
Yeah,
you think
yeah,
you do? Okay.
yeah. Because it's kind of uh, once you start to like same thing for just like instrumental music.
Uh huh.
The more like instruments you learn, the kind of like you start to notice how similar these instruments are, and you can kind of just pick up things on the fly.
Hmm.
And I was lucky enough to be able to do uh, wind ensemble, jazz band, choir, and orchestra
Mm-hmm.
like in the last couple of years.
Uh huh.
So like, and playing the trumpet in wind ensemble versus jazz band versus a symphony. No, no,
Mm-hmm.
not a symphony, an orchestra.
Right.
It's all very different, like the styles of performance.
Okay.
And for choir, since I had already been trained uh, to listen for things, because I did choir after I did my 2 years of ear training.
Uh huh.
So I had already been able to sing like these different intervals, which are an interval is the distance between two notes.
Okay.
Uh, and a larger interval is a larger gap between notes. Uh, but and so I've already been known. It's like I've already been singing in that ear training class, and just putting it all together in choir gave me and like I never did choir before that semester where I was in choir,
Uh huh.
and it really like that ear training that I did really helped me for choir. And I even told the professor who was in charge of it. He was the same professor that did ear training,
Mm-hmm.
and I told him, it was like, yeah, I thought I would have like. Now I'm not saying choir is easy, but
Uh huh.
I thought I would have a much harder time in choir. And he said it's because you did ear training. And I was like, oh fuck, you're right.
Yeah. So that your training really came in handy, right?
Yeah, it's a
So.
blessing and a curse.
Why? Why curse?
I know when stuff is wrong.
Oh. Oh God. Is there anything that comes to like? Is there anything that?
There was this one moment when I went to a conference for music.
Uh huh.
What's the music at? Uh, and there was this high school choir that was. It was like 7 or 8 kids, maybe 10,
Uh huh.
and they had tuning forks. And if
Oh.
you don't know what tuning forks are, they're these little.
Yeah, I know what they are, but go ahead and explain them
Yeah,
anyway. Yeah.
yeah, you kind of just bang them against like your elbow or like softly against your head.
Uh huh.
And most of the time, like you can get a tuning fork set for like all 12 notes, but most of the time you'll have one that's
Uh,
A 440, and 440 is the hertz that it is.
okay.
So that A is 440 hertz.
Okay.
So you could just go on like any sound machine, type in 440 hertz, and it'd be playing the pitch A.
Okay.
But and you use that A as a bass line,
Okay.
and then you find the note you're supposed to be singing. So if I wanted to sing an A flat,
Uh
I'd hear the A, and I'm not going to sing an A because I don't have it in my head. But if
huh. Uh huh.
if
Right.
that was A, to get to A flat, I'd go ba ba. Now
Right.
I'm at A. Now I'm at A flat,
Right.
and that would be the starting note. They tried to do that and failed horribly, and I heard it. My friend who I was with, who did ear training with me, we both just looked at each other and cringed.
Oh no, those poor
They were like,
kids.
"Ooh,
They don't even
yeah,
fucking know, do they?
yeah." They were supposed to be singing a chord,
Mm-hmm.
but like some people were singing the root of the chord, others were singing the fifth. No one was
Oh.
singing the third, the most important note of the chord.
Oh man, that's funny.
But yeah, it was, and then like their instructor had to help them through it. It was pretty
Right.
funny, but like when we told that story to our ear training instructor, he was like, "I'm so proud of you."
I'm so proud of you. Oh my god, just talk shit to these fucking high school kids who don't even know what the fuck they're doing.
They should know because if they have tuning forks, like they know the theory behind it and what they're doing, but
Right.
they might have been nervous or something, or
Right.
they were pretty new to it, but it was
Or
pretty
they
funny.
or they just have tuning forks to look fucking cool and to look interesting, right?
Maybe.
Make it look like they know what they're doing. I mean, because there's definitely people like that, right? They'll just buy shit and don't know what the purpose or how to use that thing properly. Like you see it all the time in really anything. Like when you watch like competitive Smash Brothers, or even League of Legends, you'll see people do things and they don't know why they're doing it. Like they'll, like in Smash Brothers, like people. Let's a very simple example: somebody's playing Marth in Melee and they're just throwing out a bunch of forward airs and like they don't know, they don't understand why Marth has to do this and why he does these things and how to use this, essentially this tool. They just know that professionals do this, so I should probably do it too. And in League of Legends, it's like, oh, professionals play this character in the top lane or they play it in the mid lane, but they don't know why they're doing it. Like maybe it was a case of, it could even have been a case of high school students having this tool and they're like, oh well, other singers and other people have these tools, but we don't know why we're using them or how to use it properly. You think maybe it could have been that?
I don't think so,
Uh-huh.
because if it was that case, they wouldn't have gotten to the point that they did get.
Uh-huh.
In their case, it was just not knowing how to get from point A to point B, and there are multiple point Bs, so their confusion is understood,
Uh-huh.
and like there are college students that can't even do it.
Right. That makes sense. Would you, so somebody who wants to improve their voice, somebody who wants to learn how to sing or wants to take this as a serious profession, what tips would you give to somebody? Let's say I'm a high school student. I'm a junior in high school, and I really want to be. I want to improve my voice. I want to be a great singer, but I don't know how to go about doing it. I don't know who to turn to. I don't know who to ask. What would you recommend doing, and how would you go about doing that?
Well, if you're in high school, I would go to the band director,
Mhm.
and if there's a choir, join that. But if there isn't, ask if there is like a music store or somewhere or someplace nearby that does lessons,
Mhm.
and take lessons with someone, because that's ultimately like the best way to really learn how to do it.
Mhm.
Uh, but in terms of like taking care of your voice, because there's a lot of maintenance that goes into it to maintaining your singing voice.
Right.
Uh, it's just avoiding. It's basically almost like going on a diet. You gotta really uh, change up what you're drinking, like what you're putting down your throat,
Hmm.
because you're just using your voice is your instrument, and if you don't take care of your instrument, it's not going to sound pretty.
Right.
So like you can't smoke, you can't do a lot of alcohol, um, you can't do a lot of like coffee or soda,
Hmm.
even tea sometimes.
Really.
Like yeah, it's like water, water, water. Just keep on drinking a lot of water.
That's interesting because I've heard a lot of things about like tea and honey helping out with like
Yeah, that like
with
that's why I mentioned like teas sometimes, because there are
right.
teas that would help. Like you can't do like sweet tea,
Right.
obviously, but it's like if it's tea with honey and other stuff that like helps the throat, then by all means do that.
Hmm.
And like ultimately, you can't just like cut off some of that stuff entirely.
Right.
You just got to do it in like moderation and make sure you're not like consuming too much,
Hmm.
because that will just make your voice like deteriorate, or
Yeah.
like it just won't help you in the long run.
Right. And what do you say to individuals? Do you think that a beautiful voice can be attained, or do you think it's more of like, okay, this person was just kind of born with these genetics, these vocal cords, and they already have an amazing foundation, and they're just going to, if they continue to work on their voice, they're going to be great? Or do you think somebody who maybe feels like their voice is not in a good spot, do you think that voice can be improved with practice, maintenance, and all these other things, or do you think you need to have that foundation in order to get to a level to where your voice is enjoyable to listen to?
Yeah, absolutely. Anyone can do it. Anyone can like learn to sing. Uh, like there are tons of stories. Like I remember, I think it was on like America's Got Talent or something like that. But there are lots of people with disabilities, like and speech impediments, where like they stutter, or like they can't speak very clearly or very well. But when they sing, it's you wouldn't even notice that they have a speech impediment, or that they uh, are like yeah. It's almost a completely different method of using your voice. Like so it's like two different voices almost,
Hmm.
and absolutely like anyone can learn to sing. Anyone can do it if they want, if they like put their head into it. Like anyone can do it. Absolutely.
Huh. Yeah, because I know there are definitely a lot of people who who very quickly will go to like blame it on genetics, or even like, oh, this person is using auto tune, or they're using what is it, enhancers,
Mm-hmm.
in their music, and that's the only reason they sound good, and that's why people like them. Um, but essentially, what you're saying is, as long as you put in the work, as long as you put in the time, you will get the results that you want, so long as you're you know focused and concentrated on it, right? Because
Yeah.
that's a very big thing, and it's not even just in singing. It's even in like exercising, and like just artists, like actual like draw people who draw, um, and musicians. A lot of people will see the end result, but they don't look at the progress that's being taken to get to that location. Everybody just goes, "Oh, that person has better genetics than me," or "Oh, like I have a speech impediment, I can't sing like that," or this or that. So again, what you're saying is, yeah, as long as you put in the work, you can do it, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just making that very clear because again, um, I definitely hear that a lot. I'm not in the, I'm not in the music scene, but I definitely hear that a lot with like health, generally just in with health and like and exercising and stuff. A lot of people will will look at a bodybuilder and go, oh, they just have great genetics. I can't do that. Um, and I also hear that with music too. But I will say, do you think there's anything wrong with enhancing your voice when you're singing? Like if you're releasing an album, something to sell to people, do you think there's anything particularly wrong with doing that? Isn't that just part of the game and creating music and something that people will find entertaining?
I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with it. I mean, it it sounds just like a different like style almost uh like to put it in different terms, like trumpet players like myself.
Hmm.
We have we have a lot of different first of all types of trumpets. We have trumpets in different keys. Uh, we have cornets. We have piccolo trumpets, and we
Hmm.
also have a bunch of mutes that we will put into the bell of our instrument, and it
Hmm.
will change the sound of the instrument.
Uh huh.
And I think that's just another way of looking at auto tune and like the mixers and filters and all that.
Right.
I don't really see a problem with it. It's just another method to me.
Right. Oh, well, yeah, I don't see an issue with it either, but I would imagine that there's a lot of purists out there who will say, well, if your voice isn't natural, if your voice is not um, if this is not actually what you sound like, then you shouldn't, you don't deserve your success or your work. But I feel like so long as you create something, because at the end of the day, music is an art form. You're doing this to entertain people. You're doing it to make people happy or to invoke an emotion. I feel like
Mm,
so long as you're getting to that goal. I think as long as you're sending out a message and eliciting an emotion off of somebody, I think you would be a successful musician. Do you think that's a correct statement to say? At the end of the day, that's what you're doing, right? You're entertaining. You're invoking emotion off of somebody that wouldn't have been invoked otherwise. It's like
yeah,
music is this language. It's a way to express feelings without having to speak it. It's why it's like when you listen to a good song, it's like you're speechless. It's almost like a drug. Something activates in your brain, and you go, "Holy shit!" Like I gotta kill something, you know.
yeah.
Um, I gotta snort a line of cocaine or something. You know what I mean? Something. Um, would you agree with that? You think as long as do you think maybe the ends justify the means? Maybe. As far as like how you write it, do you think it does? So you're saying it doesn't matter as long as you create that product that somebody will enjoy.
Uh, yeah. I mean, like it's just like an artistic choice to
Right.
me. Like, I of course there might be people that are using it just to cover it up,
Right.
but there are people out there that will just use it because that's the style of music that they wanna sing in.
Right.
Like just listen to Daft Punk. Like when they sing, do you think that's natural?
Right. We're right. Exactly. Yeah. Well, because like it definitely like there's definitely like a group of people or just people in general who will feel and maybe rightly so will feel robbed when like when somebody will sing a song and they go, oh, because I guess lying is a whole different thing, right? If you upload a song or like if you're writing music and you go, yeah, this is my voice, right, and it's not. It's like you altered it and then you're performing live and you sound nothing like you actually sound in your in your music. I guess if
Ah,
you're covering it up, I suppose maybe implying that you have a good voice, but in reality, maybe you don't. Like, I think one. I'm not saying this person uses autotune or any voice altering things, and even if she did, I honestly would not give a shit. But like, I think to me, one of the big artists that stand out to me personally is like Paramore. If you listen to Misery Business, like the music video, Haley Williams, I believe it's Haley Williams. I think it's her name. She sounds entirely different than what she sounds when she's live. Like when you hear that song on YouTube, she sounds like any other like any other like musician. But when you listen to her live, she sounds entirely different. Like she sounds like a whole different thing, you know.
Uh-huh.
But I would imagine that a lot of artists do that, though, right? I would imagine that a lot of artists like alter their voice. So I would imagine that, like if you're gonna release a song that people are gonna listen to over and over and over again, I would imagine that you would want it to sound as clean and as good as you possibly can, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. It makes sense to me. I feel like I don't have anything wrong with it. Like I don't think. I don't like if Haley Williams does alter her voice when she records. I think I don't have an issue with it. I think it's fine. I just think I think it's just kind of nuts to think about the fact that you're 5 years into fucking college, dude, and you're almost done. Like I remember when we sat in the fucking kiddie pool. Remember that when I think it was at Lucio's place, and we were hanging out in the kiddie pool. We're just talking.
Dude.
We were just sitting there. We were just talking about music for like we were doing this for like an hour, like maybe even more. Like we're just talking about music and like how it's constructed and how I don't know how I don't know anything about music and how and just. It's just nuts. It's crazy, dude. We're getting old. I don't like this. I don't like it, man. Do you still talk to anybody in high school, or are you just kind of stuck to your college friends now?
There will be moments where I hang out with a couple people from high school.
Uh-huh.
But not like on the regular, no. It's mostly college friends.
Oh, that's weird. Yeah, we're all getting old. Well, I mean, that's a big reason why I'm doing this podcast, is particularly to have a reason or an excuse to reach out to people that I haven't spoken with in a while, because, like a lot of times it's just weird. It's like, hey, let's talk, because like if I could, I would just talk to people for hours, but I think people are more willing if it's like, oh, I have a podcast. Okay, I'll get on.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's nuts. Well, man, we're coming at like 2 hours here, man.
Yeah.
We're coming at 2 hours here pretty soon, and I got shit to do. But
Yeah, I'm hungry.
yeah, no, yeah, me too. I haven't eaten anything yet. I haven't eaten anything all day today, and it's 4:21. I got up at 7 today.
Yeah, I haven't eaten anything.
Is there anything you wanted to bring up or mention before we head out here? Anything that maybe like anything else that you wanted to add on before I let you go, before we don't talk for like another month or so?
I don't.
Anyone you would recommend, any music or anything that you would want people to check out? Because apparently there are like 40 something other people who watch this podcast that I don't know who they are. So, yeah.
I definitely recommend the soundtracks to Final Fantasy X, 9, and 7. Those are like my all-time favorites. Movie-wise, like The Lord of the Rings, you can never go wrong with.
Right.
Like like the people I mentioned earlier, John Williams, John Powell, Michael Giacchino, and Hans Zimmer.
Hans Zimmer, yeah.
Those are like my all-time favorite movie composers.
Right.
I didn't even mention like what else Michael Giacchino does. Like if you've ever played the old Medal of Honor games, he did all of those,
Mm-hmm.
which are amazing. He also did Rogue One.
Oh, Rogue One's a good one.
Yeah, he also did The Incredibles 1 and 2.
Oh, those are really good ones. What the fuck? Those are great ones.
I'm trying to think on the spot what else he did.
Right.
He's done a lot more like Disney stuff.
Right. Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah, no, those are most of those. Well, actually, all of those, all the ones you listed, phenomenal films, fucking amazing.
He also did Ratatouille.
Ratatouille's a great one. Holy shit! Talk about a good fucking movie. Yeah, I'm gonna throw one in there. You guys need anybody needs to listen to Grant Kirkhope. He created a lot of the rare music, Banjo Kazooie. He's an amazing composer. Obviously I'm biased, but one of my personal favorites. He's got a lot of good stuff. Yeah, man. Well, thanks for humoring me for like,
he did Coco too.
Oh shit! How the fuck you gonna forget Coco?
I didn't know he did. I just looked it up.
It's funny. Well, Coco is really good too. That one's a real tearjerker. That one will fucking make you cry. Along with what did you say, Michael Giacchino? Giacchino. Who
if
who
you
wrote
spell it out, it looks like Giacchino, but it's Giacchino.
Oh, okay, Giacchino. Yeah, Made Up. That one's a really fucking good one. But yeah, dude, thanks for fucking humoring me for like 2 hours. Thank you for blabbing out music stuff. I always fucking love listening to you talk about music.
No problem.
Yeah, and hopefully we can talk again soon. I still have other people I'd love to interview, but yeah, man, thanks. Again, thank you, man. Fucking make sure you're eating well. Yeah, dude, I'll catch you on the flip side.
Alright.
Alright, man. Take care. Go eat something.
Alright.
Later,
Alright,
dude.
I will. Later.
Very nicely done. Here's your cut. You earned it.
Wait, you're here? What about Aerith?
My people are working on her hair right now. I thought I'd take the opportunity to drop by and watch her match. I have to admit, I never get tired of